Okay, let's dive right into our explainer for House of the Dragons Season 3, Episode 6. The web of character arcs, political maneuvers, and magical lore is getting incredibly tangled up right now. If you've been tracking the shifting loyalties across Westeros, well, this episode basically takes the whole board and completely upends it. Let's break down exactly how and why everything seems to be falling apart for both the Blacks and the Greens. To really set the tone for the explosive events we get in the Riverlands this week, we have to look at this absolutely brutal assessment from Lord Oscar Tully. He says, "Today was butchery, not battle. This wasn't some glorious romantic clash of knights. It was just a slaughter." So here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the Butcher's Ball, the chaos over in King's Landing, the powder keg that is Tumbleton, those cursed dragon eggs at Harrenhal, and finally Alicent's desperate gambit.
Starting right off with Section 1, the Butcher's Ball and the Fall of the Kingmaker.
Man, the tactical brilliance here from Oscar Tully and Rickard Dustin is just incredible. Cole and his remaining men stumble into what looks like a totally destroyed camp. But then, the dead soldiers scattered on the ground literally rise up and attack. It's a complete trap. Cole's men are totally surrounded, outmanned something like 200 to 1. Realizing he is completely boxed in, Cole tries to negotiate. He challenges the leaders to a duel, hoping to save his men. And, let's be honest, get that heroic swordsman death he desperately yearns for. But he doesn't get it. Instead, he is just swiftly shot down by arrows.
Now, it's actually super fascinating to look at how the TV adaptation changes things up from the original book material here. In the show, Cole challenges Oscar and Rickard to a 2-on-1 duel before being pretty unceremoniously shot by Alysanne Blackwood, also known as Black Aly. In the book, though, he challenges 3 men and falls to the legendary archer Red Rob Rivers. But notice the absolutely crucial detail the show added. Cole dies holding Alicent Hightower's handkerchief. It tragically reduces his grand, sweeping political war right back to the intimate, toxic devotion that drove him in the first place. So, with the Kingmaker dead in the mud and the Greens taking this massive hit in the Riverlands, it really begs the question, can Rhaenyra actually maintain her grip on a starving capital?
Which brings us to Section 2, Chaos in King's Landing, and the crumbling crown. Because, let's face it, a victory abroad definitely does not mean peace at home right now. Rhaenyra's problems are compounding so rapidly. You've got hidden insurgents orchestrated by Ormond Hightower, who have just murdered 25 gold cloaks. Add that to a severe lack of pay, and you're looking at mass desertions. The guards are choosing to go protect their own starving families instead of the crown, which makes sense, right? The small folk are out there openly demanding protection that Rhaenyra just cannot provide. And then, perhaps most symbolically of all, the Iron Throne itself physically rejects her, cutting her arm. That's a curse that famously afflicted past kings like Maegor and Viserys when their rule was really starting to falter. Faced with all this mounting pressure, Daemon is essentially in her ear advising her to embrace the tactics of Aegon the Conqueror. Just burn the hostage town of Tumbleton to the ground. But Rhaenyra refuses to burn innocent people caught in the crossfire. Instead, she opts for this incredibly chilling 2-word command: send knives. She decides to send covert assassins, disguised in the armor of the arriving Baratheon envoys, to quietly take out the Green leadership. But while King's Landing is essentially rotting from the inside out, we've got to shift gears and ask, what is actually happening out on the front lines at Tumbleton? Moving into Section 3, the Tumbleton powder keg and those fractured loyalties. There is this massive glaring gap between what our newly minted dragon riders, Hugh and Ulf, thought they were signing up for and their absolute miserable reality. I mean, they expected gold, castles, and respect. Instead, they are dealing with strict rules and absolutely zero autonomy. Hugh claimed a dragon thinking it would give his wife Cat a better life, but the reality? She had to flee King's Landing, her brother is dead, and she basically feels totally abandoned by him. And Ulf? He expected glory, but instead, he's forbidden from hitting the taverns and is literally getting beaten down in the streets by Daemon. The seeds of resentment here are taking deep, deep root. And it's not like things are going great for the Greens at Tumbleton either. They've got their own messy internal drama. Daeron Targaryen actually confesses he's terrified of becoming a mere puppet king under the control of his ambitious uncle, Ormond Hightower. But before that political drama can even fully unfold, Rhaenyra's fake Baratheon assassins infiltrate their dinner. The only reason it's foiled is because Gwaine Hightower realizes these guys are way too tall to be true Baratheons of Lord Boros' line. A massive fight breaks out, and while Gwaine handles the assassins, Ormond literally loses his lunch in terror. It's just a harsh reminder of how vulnerable the Green leadership really is right now. Well, the retaliation is immediate. Blood-soaked Baratheon armor gets sent right back to Rhaenyra with a very menacing message. Kick this dog and it will bite your hand. And it is definitely not an empty threat. Literally right after Rhaenyra receives this, her hand, Corlys Velaryon, is ambushed in the woods by Ormond's men. The Greens are proving they can strike back from the shadows just as ruthlessly as the Blacks. All right, Section 4, Harrenhal's Cursed Dragon Eggs, Magic and Manipulation. Guys, it is absolutely wild to trace the history of these 5 dragon eggs that Alicent presents to Aemond. She claims they were laid by the dragon Dreamfire way back in 73 AC, when Princess Rhaena Targaryen stayed at Harrenhal. So for over a century, they've basically been cold, petrified rocks just sitting there. But when Aemond touches one in the present day, he actually feels warmth. Alicent is totally manipulating him here, binding his deep sense of isolation with her own and convincing him that together with the ancient magic of Harrenhal, they can forge their own destiny far away from the Iron Throne. But that really makes you wonder, who is Alicent, really? And this brings up one of the coolest pieces of book lore, the Alyssa Farman theory. According to the histories, a woman named Alyssa Farman stole 3 dragon eggs from Dreamfire and sold them to finance a ship so she could sail the Sunset Sea. And the alias she used? Alice. The theory suggests that the Alice Rivers we see on screen is actually a cursed version of Alyssa, bound to landlocked Harrenhal as punishment. She's desperately trying to manipulate these dragon lords so she can break her curse and finally become a Lady of the Water. It is a total mind-bending connection that makes her scenes with Aemond even more captivating. Finally, Section 5, Alicent's Desperate Gambit and A Mother's Sacrifice.
We catch up with Helaena here, and she is refusing to eat, just obsessively working on this needlework. She's stitching a castle surrounded by red walls with a single blue eye sitting in a pool of blood. She's tapping right into her prophetic dreamer abilities, basically foreseeing Aemond's fate at Harrenhal. And compounding all this tragedy is the massive revelation that Helaena is currently pregnant with Aemond's child, a secret that would absolutely tear the realm even further apart if it gets out.
And all of this escalating tragedy just pushes Alicent into sheer, utter desperation. First, she reveals Helena's pregnancy to Rhaenyra, hoping that's enough to buy their freedom. But when Rhaenyra just locks them down even further, Alicent commits what has to be her ultimate betrayal to save her daughter. She reveals that Aemond is currently at Harrenhal and he's entirely vulnerable because his dragon, Vhagar, isn't with him. She is literally trading her son's life to secure an escape for her and Helaena. The thing is, Rhaenyra, she's not the merciful childhood friend anymore. She refuses to just let them go. Instead, she issues this incredibly ruthless ultimatum. Alicent has to travel to Harrenhal herself. Alongside a guard, she must personally act as the bait to lure Aemond out into the open so Rhaenyra's forces can kill him. It really forces us to step back and objectively look at the incredibly dark, pragmatic turn Rhaenyra's character has taken to secure her power. Which leads to this devastating realization from Alicent: I knew that one day you would cross every line. This isn't just a political defeat anymore. It is the complete and utter destruction of whatever friendship they had left. Both of these women have been pushed to their absolute moral limits by the pressures of this war. So let's wrap this up. With the Kingmaker dead in the mud, Corlys Velaryon ambushed and captured, and these incredibly powerful dragon riders growing super resentful, who truly holds the power as we march toward the inevitable Battle of Tumbleton? The board has basically been wiped clean, and the chaos is only just beginning. I really hope this explainer helps you grasp the incredible depth of this episode. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and we'll see you for the next breakdown.